Tonight, anti-Semitism in plain sight. A St. Thomas neighborhood reckoning with hate. Plus, running the options on Toronto trash, the future of a local landfill with non-London waste. And the economic bite of construction season.
It's been devastating for the last year and a half or so.
The bottom line impact when road closures keep customers away.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. An East London business owner is shedding light on just how much of an impact construction can have on a bottom line. Road restrictions had been in place around his restaurant for more than a year. Gerry Dewan has more on the relief now that they're done.
The owner of this Arby's at the corner of Oxford and Highbury says at one point it was the third busiest in Canada, and then the construction came.
It's been devastating for the last year and a half or so.
David Balloon believes the work being done to put new sewer, water, and other services in the ground to serve a new mega residential site will be beneficial. It also provided an opportunity to incorporate traffic upgrades to accommodate bus rapid transit lines. But those projects resulted in the closure of lanes on Highbury and Oxford where drivers would access the Oxbury Centre. At times, the only access was the lone entrance off of Mornington Ave. Boone says that was a blow to businesses in the mall.
I'm never shy about dollars or cents or anything, but our sales are down 60% from before the construction. And in that time, I mean, we've gone from 30 staff to about 14 staff, which has been heartbreaking, really.
He estimates his business lost about $200,000 in the last year and a half, and he says other businesses in the mall reported similar losses. He says in some communities, the local restaurant association maintains a fund to help businesses impacted by construction. He believes it's worth considering in London, and he believes the city should consider chipping in to ensure businesses aren't closed.
In other cities, that is what happens. There's a fund that goes to, but not in London or area. And as everyone in London knows, there's a lot of construction.
The sewer, water, and road work is continuing, including a new road closure with detours in place. The closure of the intersection here at Oxford and 2nd will last about 2 weeks and is expected to reopen on October 3rd, but the work along Oxford is going to continue.
It was necessarily to do a full closure to safely complete the underground infrastructure. So we are trying to do it as quickly as we can. With the full closure, we actually can attack it a little bit faster than trying to keep traffic moving through the intersection while we work.
Boone says his customers have started to return, and he's making plans to hire new staff and hopes better days are ahead. In London, Gerry Dewan, CTV News.
Municipal officials in Toronto are considering options for one of their landfills located on London's doorstep. Bryan Bicknell has more on the Green Lane site and what its future may look like up against a ticking clock.
Atop this mountain of compacted garbage, an unlikely pair of caretakers gets ready for takeoff. Abatement falconer Keegan Rollinson sends this peregrine falcon up several times a day to scare off seagulls.
We use the bird to do a natural process that they would do out in the wild, and it helps to manage the gulls. It keeps the seagulls from getting poisoned as well, because they'll go in the garbage and eat things that we don't want them to eat.
They're one cog of a giant machine that processes Toronto trash at the City of Toronto's Green Lane landfill, just west of London.
So all of the Toronto garbage that is collected at the transfer stations comes here.
All of this up close is not what you might expect a landfill to look like, but this massive, sprawling site managed some 725,000 tons of waste last year. It is projected to run out of capacity in 10 years. That amount reflecting all streams of waste. About 2/3 is Toronto garbage.
We work with our operators to make sure that they're compacting the waste as tightly as possible because we are governed by airspace here, so we only have a finite amount of volume that we're allowed to fill.
With time running out on the landfill, Toronto City Council is considering a number of options for its trash, including expanding Green Lane horizontally or vertically, which could extend the lifespan by 25 years, building a new lane landfill. However, no municipality within 500 kilometers of Toronto has expressed interest. And incineration, building sites that would create energy from waste. And this is perhaps the most controversial of options.
If you look at the Quebec City reports, sometimes they exceed the allowable limit of things they're putting out into the environment, including arsenic and other materials. So it's going to be a question of monitoring wind direction.
London City Councillor Elizabeth Pelosa says if Toronto wants to incinerate garbage, it should consider building a plant within its own borders to do just that.
If you can process your waste where you make it, it's a savings, reduces greenhouse gas emissions.
Bryan, Bicknell, CTV News.
Neighborhood concern tonight in St. Thomas, where a swastika appeared on a front lawn. Public condemnation has followed, and police are now involved. With more, here's Sean Irvine.
Freshly cut grass remains a day after neighbors state police had a contractor mow over a symbol aligned with hate. Acting on complaints, OPP officers attended this home on Centennial Avenue in central Elgin, just on the border with St. Thomas. At the time, a swastika had been mowed into the lawn. CTV News captured the symbol over the weekend. At least one neighbor reports it had been there for over a week. On Monday, those who lived nearby expressed outright disdain.
It's disgusting, right?
It's upsetting.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. We should live peacefully.
With another neighbor expressing, quote, "This is all we need in these uncertain times," local residents and the broader community waited to see what police would do. The home has multiple no trespassing signs and wooden stakes advising a wire fence is around the perimeter. OPP have yet to comment on their investigation beyond acknowledging the complaints and reaffirming a blanket pledge not to tolerate or condone acts of hate. Nearby neighbors telling CTV News they have gone through hell after several months of listening to anti-Semitic shouting and loud music. In St. Thomas Court on Monday, Timothy Van Sickle registered to the address and Julia Mekutavich appeared and were remanded into custody on 5 counts. Most relate to alleged harassment and the playing of loud music. However, a sole count mentions the front yard and accuses the pair of inciting hatred against an identifiable group. Political leaders were asked to weigh in on the situation, with Central Elgin Mayor Andrew Sloan declining an on-camera interview, citing the police investigation. However, St. Thomas Mayor Joe Preston reacted to the site alone, saying this is not the type of behavior acceptable to our community. Jewish London Executive Director Dean Lavey shared stronger words.
This is one of the most recent manifestations of hate for Jewish people, of anti-Semitism, and more broadly, hate in general. It doesn't get much more clear than a swastika cut into a lawn of grass.
An action that those here hope is never seen again. Understand why somebody would do that? Is that it?
No, I don't understand. But that's why society is.
Near St. Thomas, Sean Irvine, CTV News.
The charges against the pair have not been proven in court, and the 2 charged have been remanded until Wednesday in St. Thomas.
Good evening. I'm meteorologist Gerry for CTV News. A wide swath of showers, even thunderstorms, have stretched right across the Ohio Valley into the lower Great Lakes, southern Ontario proper, where it matters for us. And a brief brush with showers this early afternoon. Some cooler temperatures to be had beginning right now through the overnight and into tomorrow. It's officially the fall season. It started at 2:19 Eastern Daylight Time. 22 degrees, cloudy, a good southerly flow, but a light wind. And we'll see some more showers and even potential convective activity. Yes, thunder showers as we head through the overnight into your Tuesday. I'll break down what you need to know just ahead. For now, I'll send it back to you. Carlyle.
Thank you, Gerry. The mother of a toddler whose death is at the center of a manslaughter trial in London testified today about a phone call between herself and the woman accused of killing her child. With more on today's testimony, here's Nick Paparella.
On her third day on the stand, Roseanne Vanderweel continued to maintain that her main focus in this manslaughter case is to find out what happened to her 15-month-old boy, Nathaniel McLellan. The toddler died in October of 2015, days after being picked up from the babysitter, 46-year-old Megan Van Hoof. At the time, Van Hoof operated an unlicensed daycare in Strathroy. Under cross-examination from the defense, Vanderweel said she received a call from Van Hoof saying that the child had fallen, couldn't hold his head up, and was falling asleep. Asked if Van Hoof was frantic at the time, she responded, "She conveyed to me that he was injured." She went on, she was concerned she was not in a frantic state. Questioned about emails she sent police 2 years later in 2017, asking them to charge Van Hoof, Vanderweel told the court, "I began to believe that she may have been responsible, and if that were the case, I did want charges." When pressed further by the defense, she said, "I didn't know what happened. I still don't know what happened. I know my son was in her care, and I know that there was no medical like 911 call made. That's what I had to go on." Nathaniel would later die as a result of a head injury, and 6 years after that, in 2021, Van Hoof would be charged with manslaughter and has pled not guilty. Later, Vanderweel said after speaking with doctors, they told me likely it was an assault. The trial resumes on Tuesday. Nick Paparella, CTV News.
London police say they've arrested a 20-year-old man accused of stabbing someone downtown this weekend. According to police, officers responded to Mill and St. George Street early Sunday morning. They say they found a victim who had been stabbed and provided first aid. They say he was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police say with witness help, they identified a suspect and arrested him nearby. Police say a teenager was killed in a farming incident in Middlesex this weekend. They say they were called to a farm on Park Hill Drive Saturday afternoon where a 15-year-old had been found unconscious in a well. Police say the teen was taken to hospital but did not survive. London police say they've laid several charges following a fatal downtown crash earlier this month. The crash happened September 10th at Queens Avenue and William Street. According to police, someone driving a pickup truck was fleeing police and crashed into an SUV. They say a 67-year-old woman in that SUV was critically injured and later died in hospital. 2 other people were hurt. Today, police announced 11 charges against a 44-year-old from Manitoulin Island, who they say is already in custody in another jurisdiction. The province's police watchdog is also investigating the circumstances. Oxford County officials say the municipality was targeted in a cyber attack last week. According to a statement from the county, a forensic investigation is underway and third-party experts have been hired to help deal with the situation. It goes on to say the extent of the cyber attack is still not known and additional security measures will be introduced. A provincial politician from Northern Ontario has been kicked out of the PC caucus after he was arrested Sunday. With more on the investigation and the charges he faces, here's Siobhan Morris.
Please get out and vote for Chris Scott.
That was the Premier campaigning with Chris Scott and Sault Ste. Marie in February. 7 months later, the rookie MPP finds himself on the outs with the Progressive Conservative Party.
Chris will be no longer sitting with our caucus.
It means Scott will sit as an independent when the legislature reconvenes next month. The 35-year-old removed from the PC caucus after he was criminally charged over the weekend. Chris Scott now faces a charge of assault and assault with a weapon. He's been released on $5,000 bail. A publication ban limits what we can share about the case. Scott is a former advisor to the Premier's office, but Doug Ford said little about the charges.
I was informed literally in the parking lot as we're going through here. And yeah, go to Sault Ste. Marie, please. I don't want to interfere in a police investigation.
Police in the Sault say the arrest was carried out by Toronto police and that they're refraining from sharing more to protect the identity of any victim or victims. Scott created a stir when it was announced he'd carry the PC banner in Sault Ste. Marie, accused of being a parachute candidate. He won the election by a little over 100 votes over the NDP challenger.
It feels incredibly humbling.
Scott went on to be appointed parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Energy and Mines.
Global demand for these critical minerals is only going up.
That title and party designation gone. His office dark. New Democrats say Scott needs to resign immediately. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The CFL is changing its game. League officials announced a series of rule modifications today, which they claim will make the sport more entertaining. Rahim Ladani has more on the changes to the Canadian game, which may soon look much more American.
Canadian football has always defined itself by bigger fields, deeper end zones, and unique rules. But starting next season, the league is tweaking that formula and will look a lot more like the NFL.
Absolutely no percentage of these changes were made because of any type of comparison to the NFL.
While the commissioner insists he loves the Canadian game, two of the biggest changes that will come in 2027 align with American football. The goalposts, which currently sit at the front of the end zone, will be pushed back, and the field will be shortened down to 100 yards. The end zones are also shrinking, but will remain 5 yards deeper than the NFL.
The goal is to have the best game possible, right? And I believe we have that right now. And I believe we also are improving on that. So regardless of what it might look like, to others is part and parcel, right, to, how people take it.
Other changes that are meant to encourage offense will start next season. There will be a new 35-second play clock, benches on opposite sides, and a modified rouge that eliminates points for missed field goals sailing wide.
Kick is up. It's clear of the hands. Oh! Missed it, but it's out the back. We're going to OT.
Online, many CFL fans are expressing outrage, from describing the changes as garbage to saying it destroys what makes the league Canadian. And some say they're done watching.
It's kind of dumb that they're trying to be like everyone else, and instead of sticking to the CFL, they're trying to act like the NFL, see if they can get more money. But I think it's kind of bullcrap in my opinion.
However, others see this as a step forward.
There's going to be CFL people that are diehards. Nope, they're trying to make it an American game. They're not. They're trying to make the game actually better.
A toss-up between modernizing for the future or fumbling away tradition. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Rail safety advocates are raising concerns about a downtown London crossing after more video surfaced online of young people dangerously close to a moving train. Brent Lale reports.
It's 2:30 a.m. Saturday, and two young women lift the crossing arm at the tracks on Richmond Street. The message of playing near the tracks is still not getting through, even during Rail Safety Week.
Year after year, there are railway fatalities across this nation, and one death is too many.
Sandra LaRose lost her daughter to a train fatality in 2018. Now she's dedicating her life to make sure it doesn't happen to others.
Our focus is education. Educating Canadians about rail safety is vitally important.
This weekend in Strathroy, the Southern Ontario Live Steamers held a rail safety event.
Recently, we've seen some real disturbing footage, particularly in London at certain crossings. It's very challenging when you see those videos because we know that it doesn't take long for something to go really bad.
They gave rides on their model railroad while offering an educational component.
Everybody that's on this train here that you see today, all those people are learning valuable lessons about how to behave around trains properly. We make sure that they're on the platform behind the yellow line. We make sure that they get off in an orderly fashion. They wait until the train comes to a complete stop. And it's just reinforcing the lessons of being safe around trains.
Officers from Strathroy Caradoc Police, the OPP, and CN Police were also there to explain the consequences of disobeying laws.
And all railway crossing is actually private property, and under the Railway Traffic Act, you can actually be fined. Fines start at a minimum of $500 and goes upwards from there. We're out here today to just make sure that everybody's safe and sound.
It's exactly the message LaRose is trying to promote, especially to young people like the one just a few weeks ago who jumped onto the moving train in London.
If every student who hears me speak can walk across the graduation stage to receive their diploma, have an outstanding career, fall in love and have a family, and live a full life, I know that Kayla and I have had a part.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Coming up, the Prime Minister takes Canada's message to the United Nations. In his words, we have what the world wants.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvlondon.ca, your home for news.
Welcome back. Leaders from more than 150 countries have recognized a Palestinian state at the 80th United Nations General Assembly. Canada is among those nations, and as Judy Trin reports, that puts us and several other G7 nations in direct conflict with the U.S. and Israel.
As we meet, civilians are targeted and international law trampled in Gaza, the Ukraine, Sudan, and beyond.
As the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly opens, growing support for Palestinian statehood dominates the agenda. 3 G7 nations, Britain, France, and Canada, are recognizing the state of Palestine to apply political pressure to end the war in Gaza.
We have to push on this now because, as I say, the possibility, in absolute violation of the UN Charter and in absolute violation of international law, of self-determination for the Palestinian peoples is being erased.
Carney says Hamas would not have a role in governance. Instead, Canada, in a coordinated effort with like-minded countries, will work with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank toward a two-state solution in a plan for peace that could also call for troops.
There are many proposals, as I suspect you're aware, from variety of Arab states, combination of Arab states and European states, to which Canada would be party.
It has been nearly 2 years since the October 7th attacks, but Israel's prime minister has vowed not to stop the war until Hamas is eradicated.
The starvation and devastation are utterly intolerable.
It is not diplomacy. When Hamas is praising this conference and calling it the fruit of October 7th, we know it's a problem.
4 of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, Britain, France, Russia, and China, recognize Palestine, except for the United States.
He feels this does not do anything to release the hostages, which is the primary goal right now in Gaza, does nothing to end this conflict and bring this war to a close. And frankly, he believes it's a reward to Hamas.
U.S. President Donald Trump will make his stance clear when he speaks in front of the UN General Assembly on Tuesday. Right now, 150 nations recognize the state of Palestine, but the one country that has the most influence on Israel, the United States, does not. Judy Trin, CTV News, New York.
President Donald Trump is suggesting using Tylenol during pregnancy may contribute to rising autism rates. The potential link has already been studied by experts who say it is unproven. However, Trump is claiming people should not take acetaminophen while pregnant. According to Canada's public health agency, the prevalence of autism in children up to 17 years old is 2%, representing thousands of families across the country. With more on the reaction from some of those families to the American president's claim, here's Adrian Gobriel.
When young Luca was just 3 years old, his mother, Christina Kalura, received confirmation of what she already suspected.
My thought process automatically turned to not what he can't do, but what he can do.
The medical claim being made by the Trump administration has left her fuming.
And I'm literally shaking as I'm talking about it because it's so scary to think that we're now going to be creating a stigma against moms.
What type of stigma do you believe a mother such as yourself could now be facing?
What did you do when you were pregnant to cause, and I can't even say it, cause your child to have autism?
Kalura isn't alone.
When I was pregnant with my daughter, who is on the spectrum, I didn't take any medication at that time, so there was no Tylenol in the mix, and she's autistic.
Alina Cameron's daughter, Fiona, is 10 years old. Cameron is the president of the Ontario Autism Coalition. She's also an epidemiologist.
There has been language coming out of the United States recently that is very troubling to the larger autism community here in Canada.
The study released by the American Medical Association journal JAMA investigated the use of antihistamine during pregnancy and children's risk of autism, ADHD, and intellectual disability among nearly 2.5 million children in Sweden. It found that antihistamine use during pregnancy was not associated with children's risk of autism, ADHD, or intellectual disability in sibling-controlled analysis.
The overwhelming consensus is that Tylenol is safe during pregnancy. It is probably the safer alternative. Tylenol is probably safer than many of the other over-the-counter medications like Advil and ibuprofen.
For Kalura, she's trying to take the day's news from south of the border in stride.
Our main focus should be on the supports and the therapies and supporting our children of all needs and abilities.
Christina Kalura asked that we share this quote in hopes that it might help other Canadian families who are struggling today. She says, "Autism is a journey I never expected, but I sure do love my tour guide." Adrian Gobriel, CTV News.
ABC executives say Jimmy Kimmel's late-night suspension is over. According to the network, Kimmel's show will return tomorrow. The veteran host faced backlash for remarks last week about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's also believed government pressure played a role in the network's decision to take Kimmel off the air, who has expressed concern about broader potential government crackdowns on comedians. And meteorologist Gerry Archibald is with me tonight. Gerry, as we make the official switch from summer to fall, we're getting a bit of a meteorological shift as well. Cooler and rainy this week.
Yes, well said, Carlyle. You're right about that. Some rain, some cooler air, the pattern change, this metamorphosis. Beautiful colors, the autumn change in terms of the trees and what have you. Wonderful. I love this season, but some people not so happy about cooler temperatures. However, today still was above seasonal. We did get into some rain showers with a light disturbance moving through the atmosphere across southern Ontario. Reached high of 25. Our norm is now sub 20 degrees, 19 in fact as of today. Right now temperatures hovering around 22 at the airport in the great city of London. Cloudy, passing showers to our south and east. Because of all that moisture at the surface, it is humid. The relative humidity is over 80%. It feels warmer, about 29, so very summer-like, though still technically fall now. Wind gusts are going to pick up, perhaps in the extreme southwestern tier more so than through the central tier or the Midwest, but expect a breezy evening through to 10, 11 p.m. tonight, gusts in that 20 to 30K range. One disturbance hovers over upper Michigan, Lake Huron shores to the north, and certainly Lake Superior. The others riding right through the heart of Lake Erie, headed towards Niagara Falls, Lake Ontario. So we're sort of caught in between the two systems. This secondary wave brings more cloud and potential showers. I think over the next 24 to 48 hours, 5 to 10 additional millimeters. In addition to that, localized thunderstorms could isolatedly put down even more because they're just more intense, pack a bigger punch in terms of the rainfall output or yield. The temperatures through the overnight are still likely going to be in that 13 to 15 degree range. In fact, although we see a chance of showers and a light thunderstorm through 8 o'clock, 20 degrees at 10 for this time of the year, still mild at midnight to start things off. Technically, early Tuesday morning, 18 degrees, a wind out of the southwest sustained at 20. And gusts closer to 25, 30. Take a look at our Metal Roof Outlet 7-day forecast, calling for about a 60% chance of rain and or thunderstorm activity. High of 23, then 22s apiece for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Again, the average high is still around 19, so we're slightly above seasonal through this week. Will be more seasonal next week. In terms of the Midwest, still rainy and unsettled for the next 2, maybe 3 days straight. I think Friday's looking a little bit better with a lower probability, but keep the umbrella handy. Tuesday, showers likely, thunderstorm possible, high of 23, lower 20s Wednesday through Friday, still cloudy, and then the weekend looks nice, a nice fall weekend. The first weekend of the new season, lower 20s, but sunny. Great to be outdoors. parks, trails, and taking in that beautiful metamorphosis, those leaves turning color. Carlyle?
Thank you, Gerry. Still ahead, a new school year, a new scam. The fraudsters targeting parents of university students, and what to watch out for.
Great prize for you this week around 8:30. Make sure you're listening.
We want to send you to see Warren's Diners next Wednesday at Canada Life Place. And not only can you score tickets, but you can also score a VIP upgrade.
Ooh, fancy. You get a monocle.
Good luck.
St. Thomas police say they're investigating a crypto scam that cost a local resident $180,000. According to police, the victim came forward after making numerous transactions over several months. They say the victim thought he was dealing with an online financial advisor. Meanwhile, Huron OPP say they're investigating a similar scam that cost someone else $130,000. Dozens of entrepreneurs in the local tech sector were brought together this past weekend for an immersive experience. It was called the Techstars Startup, an opportunity for collaboration and pitching new ideas.
As a scientist myself, I know this exact pain. First, you go to look up whatever you're researching.
I'm co-founder of the Easy Snack. We make nutrient-dense snacks to help Canadians get fruits and vegetables. Really, to network, collaborate, I thought if I could build a business that I could use that towards my business and make my business even better.
Going to increase by another $112 billion. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Nextdoor Rental, shown right here. It's an online rental marketplace that connects neighbors with resources. Say you have a lawnmower that you use once a week for cutting your grass. The other 6 days of the week, you can utilize that asset and rent it out to other members of your community. It's networking, it's forming those connections, it's meeting other people and their story, their journey, and relating to that.
Videos really just chop up the flow.
London is among the top tech ecosystems in Canada and around the world, and as a result we were able to secure Techstars Startup Weekend. This is a great opportunity for us to cheer on folks who are starting something new, but also have an awareness of the kinds of companies that are made in London and built in Canada.
A woman in the Toronto area says she recently fell for a scam targeting parents of university students. She says she's out thousands of dollars and wants others to think twice if they get similar messages. Pat Foran reports.
My daughter just finished high school and started University of Toronto.
Sandra Jordan of Mississauga says her daughter Ava Moss was excited to start university this fall. Everything was going fine, but earlier this month she got an email claiming a tuition payment was due right away or she would be kicked out of her program.
It states that she'll be de-enrolled from her courses if they did not get a $3,000 deposit by the end of that day.
The email appeared to come from the University of Toronto, so Jordan immediately sent an e-transfer of $3,000. But not long after sending it, she had concerns.
I just had this weird feeling that something didn't seem right.
On the university's website, there is a warning of the tuition scam, but the alert was too late for Jordan and she lost $3,000. The University of Toronto told CTV News the university never asked students for payment through e-transfer or other private means. Jordan's bank, CIBC, said if you receive an unexpected request for money, you should verify the request is legitimate by reaching out to a trusted organization like your bank, or in this case, the university.
Whenever it comes to making any type of financial transaction, if you're unsure, hit the pause button, take a breather.
Ritesh Kotak says criminals create a sense of urgency, so you'll act fast. He says whenever you're asked to send money, slow down, ask questions to make sure the request is legit.
Sometimes a lot of these high-tech crimes, low-tech solution. Pick up the phone, call the university, and validate and verify before you send your hard-earned money over.
Jordan wishes the university would have warned families in advance about the scam. She says the $3,000 could have helped pay for her daughter's schooling, and she wants other students to be careful.
To lose $3,000, obviously, I'm very dedicated to my daughter's education.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Big moves in tech propelled markets higher on both sides of the border. In Toronto, the TSX gained 191 points. In New York, the Dow added 66, the Nasdaq up 158. The Canadian dollar dropped 0.15 of a cent today. On commodity markets, gold climbed nearly $70 an ounce. Oil dipped 12 cents a barrel. Later on CTV News, a special celebration for Canadian pilots commemorating their role in fighting off Hitler's aerial assaults, turning the tide in the Second World War.
5K a day is back on 97.5 Virgin Radio. Listen to Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben for your chance to win $5,000
every weekday.
5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
Hi, I'm Jason Peffer, Business Manager of UA Local 527, Southwestern Ontario. At the UA, we believe if you have the opportunity to help someone, you have the obligation to do so. And that's what we do at Local 527. Our members work in the auto industry, manufacturing, nuclear power plants, schools, and hospitals in your community, just to name a few. When people ask me, what are the advantages of joining the UA versus being independent? Typically within the union, there are higher wages, better benefits, better pension, and greater opportunity with an organization that has your back. Working in the trades is not for everyone, but if you think you have what it takes, both physically and mentally, it can become a very rewarding career. If you'd like to join Local 527, go to ua527.com.
The Trades, brought to you by UA Local 527.
Provincial health officials are preparing for their fall vaccine rollout as COVID-19 cases increase. Health officials say COVID shots will be shipped to hospitals in the coming days, as well as long-term care homes and other congregate settings, followed by flu shots next week. Other people in high risk and priority groups, including people over 65, can access shots from primary care providers as supply becomes available. They'll be available to the general public starting October 27th. New treatments will soon be available to Canadian patients living with an autoimmune condition, which can have devastating effects. As Pauline Chan reports, these two new drugs appear to have fewer side effects and should be easier to administer.
I thought I was having a stroke. I thought maybe I had Bell's palsy. I had blurry vision. My right side of my face was kind of saggy.
Before he was diagnosed with myasthenia gravis in 2021, Manly Lavender was in a wheelchair. But treatments, especially his seventh and latest medication, have brought him back to mobility and a zest for life.
I was able to cut my grass. I was able to walk my dog.
And while his current treatment is working well, he hails the approval of two new medications in Canada.
The door is being cracked open.
Before there were any treatments for this many years ago, it was a fatal condition.
The new treatments are called Zilbrisk, the first self-administered daily injection for generalized myasthenia gravis, or GMG, and Restigo, a subcutaneous injection given weekly at a clinic.
Zilbrisk is what's known as a complement inhibitor, and the Restigo is what's known as an FC receptor inhibitor. And these two new classes of drugs are new mechanisms.
Dr. Hans Katzberg says they are an improvement because they have fewer side effects and are much easier to take than the current hour-long infusions. Humera Osman of Muscular Dystrophy Canada, which is the umbrella group that covers GMG, says in the past, medications could take 12 to 18 months to show any effects. Now,
the effect has been observed much earlier. So you're really able to tell if you are responding well to treatment.
Many people don't have the resources and the time and the wherewithal to travel into a big center like Toronto and Ottawa and London, so they settle.
But he hopes being able to take your medications at home will mean more patients can get the best therapies available. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new report from the World Wildlife Fund says Canada's wildlife is at risk. The fund's Living Planet report found more than half the species studied are decreasing in population. The biggest declines were seen in grassland habitats, where wildlife populations declined an average of 62% since 1970. In forests, mammal populations declined by 42%. Across Canada, threatened species saw their populations decline by an average of 43%. Tomorrow on CTV News, a new London-based clinical trial which could help people with kidney problems on dialysis live a longer and better life. That's tomorrow on CTV News at 6.
Let's take a look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Sherry Verga for this beautiful image. Showers and some thunderstorm activity are possible tonight and tomorrow, and expect some more wet weather at times through the week. The fall season is officially here, and so too is a cooling trend of temperatures.
The Trump administration and China have reached a deal on TikTok, keeping the popular social media platform available in the U.S. According to the White House press secretary, the deal is done but still needs to be signed in the coming days. She says the new agreement allows the U.S. to control TikTok's algorithm and data, while 6 Americans will sit on the 7-seat board, meaning TikTok will be majority owned by Americans in the U.S. Instagram is rolling out a new AI tool targeting teens in Canada who registered adult accounts. According to Instagram officials, the technology will identify accounts suspected to belong to teens, even if they list an adult birthday. The AI model will be trained on information, including the dates the accounts were created and interactions they had with other profiles and content. If it suspects deception, the platform will convert their profile into a teen account. A new report is accusing Canada and other major fossil fuel producing nations of derailing the world's chances of meeting climate change targets. The report was compiled by Canada's International Institute for Sustainable Development, along with 2 other nonprofits. It says fossil fuel production levels 5 years from now are expected to be more than double the levels outlined in the 2015 Paris Agreement. The report suggests countries will release 120% more fossil fuels in 2030 than what is needed to keep global warming to 1.5 degrees. Some of the world's best men's and women's curling teams are in London and St. Thomas for a Grand Slam event beginning tomorrow morning at the Western Fair Sports Centre. Teams from Japan were at the St. Thomas Curling Club this afternoon getting some practice in. It is a Tier 1 event featuring recognizable names like Brad Gushu and Rachel Homan. It is a 6-day competition with the men's and women's finals scheduled for Sunday.
Grand Slams are the biggest, events in curling. So, Tier 2 is the first step to kind of creeping into the Tier 1. And obviously for the winners, it's a chance for them to kind of guarantee a spot into the Tier 1 event. So huge deal for us. And I just wanted to kind of get rid of the jet lag, get used to the ice a bit. First time in Canada, so definitely excited to kind of match up against the competition here.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. Members of the Royal Canadian Air Force visited the Fanshawe College Aviation Centre today.
We are a military-connected college. So any chance we get to actually meet up with the military and bring in some of their hardware for our students, it serves both us because it motivates our students, and it serves the military as well because we consider them an industrial partner.
Organizers say they're trying to attract new Canadian Armed Forces members to aviation technical trades. Students took in presentations by RCAF technicians, learning about the aircraft up close and speaking with recruiters. Members say RCAF careers are highly technical with an increasing demand for their skills.
I took the same path as a lot of these college students, so I think it's good to be a role model and show them what a career in the Canadian Armed Forces could look like, and show them that this is an opportunity for them that they could do.
And finally tonight, a commemoration ceremony 85 years after a significant win for Canadian pilots in the Second World War. With more on their role in the Battle of Britain, here's Alison Bamford.
A moment overhead to honor a pivotal battle fought in the skies above England. Royal Canadian Air Force and Armed Forces members commemorating the 85th anniversary of the Battle of Britain. Among those in uniform are pilots in training, motivated by those who flew before them.
It's our history. It's why we do what we do.
The 1940 Battle of Britain lasted 114 days. Allied forces defended the United Kingdom against Nazi Germany in the first battle ever fought almost exclusively in the air. Many of the Canadian pilots didn't have a choice but to learn on the fly.
Back then, some of these young men only had 10 to 20 hours before they were sent off into battle.
The Battle of Britain ended October 31st, 1940, but commemoration ceremonies like this one take place in September to mark a major turning point for the Allies.
Hitler threw everything at us, and what they thought was easy pickings turned out to not be so much, and completely changed the mindset of the Germans once they lost.
More than 100 Canadian pilots joined the fight. 23 of them lost their lives. Irishman John Paddy Hemingway was the last surviving Battle of Britain pilot. He died in March at the age of 105. They all left a legacy that these members say will be hard to forget. Ken Hawks served in the Royal Canadian Air Force decades after the Battle of Britain. He wasn't a pilot, but he looked up to those who were.
They reached out to us in so many ways.
A legacy that will live on through the next generation of Air Force pilots. Allison Bamford, CTV News, Moose Jaw.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. I'm back tonight with your late news after Monday Night Football. Bye for now.